Hello, everyone, and welcome to 10 Ways to Improve Your LinkedIn Lead Generation. My name is Sue Ellson. I'm an independent LinkedIn specialist based in Melbourne, Naarm, Victoria, Australia, and it's great to have you here. So thank you for joining us. And Woody Allen says 80% of success is turning up. So whether you're turning up live or online on the recording, really fabulous to have you here. I'm going to be obviously covering the 10 ways to improve your LinkedIn lead generation with specific tips, relevant examples, and I'd love you to pick 3 things that you can do within 3 hours from now so that you get the maximum value out of this presentation. These are all the things that I am going to be going through in the next 30 minutes. Feel free to interrupt with questions at any time in the chat. I'm more than happy for those. But number 1, abide by the LinkedIn user agreement. Number 2, optimize your LinkedIn profile and or page. Number 3, reconnect with your existing network. Number 4, find your target audience. 5, have a follow-up process. 6, engage with your audience. 7, create consistent content. 8, use special features. 9, consider events. And 10, consider newsletters. For those of you who don't know me, my career started off in banking. I spent 11 years at Westpac in Adelaide before moving to Melbourne and setting up my first website, newcomersnetwork.com, in 2001. I joined LinkedIn in 2003 and have been consulting on the topic of LinkedIn since 2008. After moving to Melbourne, I haven't really had a real job since 1994. So I'm a member of a number of professional associations as well. I'd like to remind you that I also use these LinkedIn strategies I'm going to be recommending, and they work. They are all attraction marketing techniques. So it means that by setting up these systems and processes, I automatically generate leads from my online activity, and there's only me here. I don't have a virtual assistant going out there getting me leads. I attract all these opportunities to me by using these techniques. Some of the stuff I do manually, but most of it just works on its own. So I'd like you to remember that when thinking about these particular strategies. Just for showing up, I will email these downloads to you, but if you're listening to the recording, you can download them for free at sueelson.com/latest-offer. And I'm also running a workshop this Saturday here in Canterbury for a maximum of 4 people for 4 hours, where we actually go through the book and update your LinkedIn profile on the spot. Now, with every event, I also invite you to subscribe to me on social media. And you can see, obviously, LinkedIn is my favorite platform, considering the number of connections and followers there compared to the other platforms. But pick one that you love, click the notification bell so that you see my updates. It's no more than 4 a week. I try to aim for about 2 a week, but now that I've started putting out videos, there's going to be at least 1 video a week. So last night I created this page on my website, sueelson.com/linkedin-shorts-videos, where you can see all of my videos that are less than 60 seconds on the topic of LinkedIn. So I'm going to be adding more and more content there as time goes by. One of them doesn't work anymore because LinkedIn has updated since then because it was an old video, but the other 10 are all good to go. Now, 2 articles that I've written most recently that have gone absolutely gangbusters on LinkedIn are why your job application was unsuccessful and why your job interview was unsuccessful. So obviously we're all motivated by terrible news, and that's why these articles have been so popular. But let me assure you, they are written in a supportive and encouraging way, because let's face it, some of the time you did absolutely nothing wrong and you still miss out on a job or work, because obviously today's about leads, so it's more about attracting work or business opportunities, but these principles can apply. And even though I do lots of gigs, I still go to interviews. So it was a good refresher for me to reflect on some of the things that are relevant when you're applying for jobs and also when you're going for interviews. For those of you who don't know, I'm the author of 5 books. The first and the last are both on the topic of LinkedIn. This one was a brain dump of everything I could think about that I knew on LinkedIn. And this one was kind of the user guide to start from beginning to end to update your own LinkedIn profile for you to give yourself a gold star LinkedIn presence. I also have an online course that goes with the book, which gives video instructions for all of the bits and bobs in there that has been updated this year because obviously the book was written at the beginning of last year and so many things change, as Lanier will attest, who's in our meeting today. She gives you all the updates on all the things that change. And I often recommend Lanier Johnston from New Zealand in my webinars, and she's here. So if you've got a question to ask, you can ask either one of us today, which is really exciting. So I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on where we're all based. There's lots of other stuff there, but basically, please add your questions in the chat and let me know what has been most helpful to you, because that's really good feedback for me. And as my mother suggests, we should always say thank you. So whether you say it in the chat, whether an online review, endorsing me for my skills, writing a recommendation, I don't mind, but it's really appreciated when that does happen. So just to get a bit of a feel for the people who are here online in the session, can you please let me know in the chat what sort of leads you're looking for on LinkedIn? Are you trying to get a job or work coming directly to you? Are you trying to get leads for the services you provide? Do you have products that you're trying to promote? Are you working on behalf of an enterprise or are you doing something else? So you can just pop a number in the chat and that will give me a bit of a clue as to where most of you are coming from. And right, oh, we've already got a little question here. Thank you for providing your presentation slides. Quick note regarding them. The link to doesn't go to unsuccessful interview. All right, yes. I will update the link in the slides. Thank you for letting me know of that error. But they are also on my website under sueelson.com/publications-2024. So if you want to click on the links directly through to those, you can do that there too. All right, so lots of ones and twos, products and services, 1, 4, 3, attract passive candidates. Wow, so that's more of a recruiting process. I did run a webinar on 10 ways to improve your LinkedIn recruiting. So feel free to watch that webinar as well. The link will be on one of the last slides. Lots of ones, lots of twos, a 3. Trying to get leads for voiceover work in areas of e-learning and corporate narration. Right, that's really specific. Susan, I think that is fantastic that you know the words that people would be looking for to find you. And the video that I put out yesterday was where to put your primary keywords on your LinkedIn profile. And they are in your headline, in your current job title, in your previous job title, and in your certifications, as well as your skills, obviously. So make sure those words are in those sections, really well, and that you perhaps connect with other people in those areas and follow their work, engage with that content, and also follow the hashtags and engage with that content as well. Will's job projects, branding and attract. Oh, lots of candidates for recruiting. Okay. And web design leads. Thank you, Clifton. Yes. Who wants another approach from some random person about redoing your website? We all see that as suspicious, so it can be really, really difficult. So, Clifton, one of the things I think you need to do is get out there to live networking and meet people face to face, connect with them on LinkedIn, and then follow up. And I think that would be a really good way for you to generate leads, because once they see you and they know you're not a scammer outsourcing everything to a foreign country, then they're probably going to be much more likely to engage with you. So really, that's a really tricky industry. So making sure people see you face to face and get a sense that, yes, I could trust the keys to my mansion, my website, to this person, that is a really good point. So thank you for those things. Oh, this is already exciting for me as a presenter to get so much engagement in the chat. So please keep that coming and I will incorporate that in the presentation. Obviously, I'm not going to read out everything that is on these slides because you can do that as well, either during the webinar or after, but I will focus on the most important points as we go through. Now, lead generation, as soon as I hear that word, I think of algorithms, computer programs, scripts, scouring the internet, trying to grab people for sales. And let me assure you, LinkedIn has plenty of anti-spam detection tools looking for people doing that. So if you do that, you will automatically at some point in time lose accessibility to your LinkedIn profile or your LinkedIn company page, or your stuff will just become such that you cannot log in. So please do not spam. Make sure you read section 8 of the LinkedIn user agreement. You can systemize, you cannot automate. So please do not fall for these purchasable programs that suggest that we'll do lead gen for you, or outsource it to somebody else to log into your account and do the lead gen on your behalf, because LinkedIn will be able to detect that they are in another location via their internet protocol address, IP address. Now they might say, oh, we use a virtual private network. Look, please, if they detect somebody else is using your account instead of you, then there are going to be risks, and you risk losing all your connections and everything you've done up to date. So I just do not recommend it. Systemize it, get somebody to come in, sit beside you and do the work next to you if need be. But as I said, I do everything on my own, so I try and systemize things so that the leads automatically come to me. There are also professional community policies. Do not connect and pitch, automate, aggravate, spam, or look for a date. I know that a number of people have even promoted that on television programs here in Australia. You're not allowed to use LinkedIn for dating. Do not at-mention people inappropriately or humble brag. And please just do not kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. That is what LinkedIn is for me, and I love it, and I don't want anybody to ruin it. So I must remind you, please abide by the LinkedIn user agreement, which has been updated, and from November there will be new rules. And I'm sure Linnea will have lots to say about that in her audio events as well. Now, as I said at the beginning, you need to optimize your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn page. What is the point of having a presence on the internet and not filling it in and not including everything that you want to be found for? So if you are not getting at least 100 views of your personal profile per 90 days and at least 50 appearances in search results in 7 days, your LinkedIn profile will not very likely generate leads. And if you are trying to be a passive candidate, getting those job opportunities coming to you directly, even without you thinking about it, you need to have optimized your LinkedIn profile well before that. You also do not need to get the verification tick. This has been a topic that's come up a lot, because if I click on about this profile, I can see when you joined LinkedIn. And if that was longer than yesterday, then I'm going to be reasonably secure that you're a legitimate person. So you don't have to go through the verification process. And the reason I say that is you have to use a third-party tool, scan your passport with the chip in it, and that is just not on from a personal privacy perspective. I just don't agree with it. So I've been able to verify my profile with an historic email address I had on my account. I work for an organization called NetExpat, and they are a verifiable employer. We're still waiting for all these other big employers to be able to verify people on LinkedIn. But in the meantime, don't worry about that. Just fill the jolly thing in and make sure that your message is clear, and that there's contact ways that people can contact you directly, because you want leads. So, what is the point of saying, I don't want my email address on my profile? Well, how do you expect people to reach you? I mean, you've got to make it easy for people to do that. Those are the webinar links to those other 2 webinars on those specific topics. Now, every good business advisor will tell you, don't go looking for new leads, go back to your existing clients and ask them for leads. Like, that's the most obvious. They're the people who are your raving fans. They've been working with you for some time. They've already purchased your products or services. So they probably know other people who would also be interested in your products or services. So you can find these people, they're already connected, they're following your company page, they may have attended your LinkedIn event. So everybody who attends my events, I invite them to connect with me on LinkedIn. So when the time's right, they find me again. Then, because I have a newsletter on both my personal profile and my company page, as soon as someone follows me, they don't even have to connect, they'll be invited to subscribe to my newsletter. So that puts them in my gene pool of leads. And obviously, my favorite thing to do on LinkedIn is to reverse stalk, which is to look at people who've looked at my LinkedIn profile. Because if they've already looked at my LinkedIn profile, they're obviously interested in what I do. And that's another source of leads. I call that a warm lead, which is you can find out lots more warm leads via that link. And then, of course, there's the people you went to school or university with. And don't forget to include your postgraduate qualifications as well. You can check out other people. So let's say, for instance, you've got a work trip to New Zealand. Hint, hint, Linaire, I'd love a work trip to New Zealand. You could say, all right, who do I know in New Zealand who went to the same university or school that I went to? And why don't I catch up with them when I'm over there? So that's another way to create those leads in another location. So keep that in mind as well. The next one is to find your target audience. Oh, we've got another question. How do you contact someone who has looked at your profile without it being weird? Yes, it can look weird. So look, Ben, if you were in my ideal target audience and you checked me out on LinkedIn, here's what I would say. Hi, Ben. Thanks for visiting my LinkedIn profile. Is there something I can help you with? And I would send off the connection request. So I don't try and make it really creepy. Or you could say, here's a little resource that I have that a lot of people find useful. So I've got a frequently asked questions page. I might send that link or do something like that. So, and most people will say, oh my goodness. Or I could say, if I wanted to be really witty, if you don't want people to know when you've looked at their profile, click on this link and turn off your visibility. So I could do that if I felt the person was not a regular user of the platform, because regular users sort of know. But yeah, apparently if you look at someone's LinkedIn profile, there's a 30% chance that they'll look at you. So a lot of people do this stalking. Apparently it's one of the most favorite things to do on LinkedIn about 9 o'clock at night. Check out all the people you used to work with, people you used to date, you know. It's a thing, you know. I don't have time, but I do love having my premium LinkedIn account so I can see the last 90 days. And when I see anybody who's coming to an event or anybody I've met somewhere looking at my LinkedIn profile, I go, yay, they're going for more information. So I'm super excited when I see someone I recognize having looked at my LinkedIn profile. So if you're into sales, there is no point saying your product or service is for everybody. It isn't. And Philip Durham will tell you with market research, statistical backup data, that that is absolutely the case. So you need to define who your target audience is and then find them on LinkedIn. So you can do it via a search query. You can do it via a Google advanced search. If we've got time, I'll show you how to do that at the end. But basically, that's the screen there. And you can do an unlimited of Google advanced searches. So you can look for your specific words and location, linkedin.com, and that searches the entire LinkedIn database that has been indexed by Google. So it's not limited to your connections and the people you're connected to. This searches the whole LinkedIn database. So I love that Google Advanced feature. So when I get my search results, I right click, open in a new tab, right click, open in a new tab. And then I go and look at those individual people. And if they are part of the target audience, because I do this lead gen for my clients, then I would then reach out and connect or offer them an invitation to an event or whatever it is that I'm doing. You also can look at who has engaged with specific profiles. So for instance, one of my clients specializes in a particular service. And so what I did is I looked at his competitors' LinkedIn profile and I saw who engaged with his competitor, and then I started reaching out to the people who had engaged with that competitor's posts, because they were obviously people who were also interested in the same service that my client was interested in. So that can work well. Obviously, other pages. So the competitors' pages might have people who've engaged with their content, but it also could be specific pages. So if you were looking for voiceover work, as you mentioned earlier, you might look over to organizations that provide voiceover services and like their page and engage with their content, and then, you know, see that these decision makers, are happy that you liked their post and wrote a little comment. And then they might say, oh, who's this person who provides voiceover services? And we'll now go look at them. Look for specific content based on hashtags, and you can also be part of some specific groups. So I'm a member of the Career Development Association of Australia, and we've set up a new group on LinkedIn for private practitioners, people who are providing career services in private practice. And so I've shared my content with them so they can share it with their audience. And that's because we're a really niche group, that works well as well. But if you don't set a goal of how much lead generation you are going to do per week, you won't do it. It'll just fall into the too hard basket. So you've got to say to myself, I'm going to reach out to at least 50 people per week. I'll probably do it Tuesday afternoons because, it's a bit of a quiet patch, and away I go. And then keep a record of your stats, how your follower numbers are increasing or your connections are increasing. And then that way you can see how your lead gen is working. Here's some other authentic networking techniques and free online and offline networking techniques, which could be good for Clifton there with the web design work. Okay. Now, it's all well and good to have people in your network, but if you don't have a follow-up process to take them on the sales journey, then you may miss out on generating a sale. So I have an automatic policy. My 3 favorite words are not I love you, they are from now on. So from now on, I invite you to connect with every single person you meet, whether that be online, offline, via a text message, via an email, via a phone call. It doesn't matter. If I receive, like somebody likes my post and they're not connected to me, I will connect with them. If they make a comment and they're not connected with me, I will connect with them. Like I just connect with everybody that I meet. And I've had people say, Sue, I met you 8 years ago at such and such event. I'd now like some LinkedIn help. And that is without a word of a lie. I've been connected to these people for a long time, and then all of a sudden I become useful to them. So that's great. Now, if this is someone really helpful with content that is really aligned with your branding, your message, what you're trying to achieve, click the notification bell and choose all new posts. And that way their content is more likely to appear in your news feed and you can engage with it more regularly. So any VIPs, people who provide referrals to you, please make sure you engage with their content. You can also, with your follow-up process, you might say, I'm going to outreach to 50 people. You put all those 50 people in your spreadsheet with the date, the name, and their LinkedIn URL. And then you put date columns, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, the different steps you've got. And then you'll put the date that you did step 1 and the date that you did step 2 and the date that you did step 3. So that way you can track for each person you've connected with and the lead generation process you want to follow, where you are on that stage. So you don't accidentally send them step 1 twice and that sort of thing. So put them all in a spreadsheet. I've got a person who's older than me who, oh, yes, Susan, yes, if you've got a customer relationship management system, by all means do it in that. But I just like to start off with the real basics so that people can see how this works before they develop a full-blown system. But obviously, as soon as they become a client, definitely put them in your customer relationship management system. But your lead gen, you might want to do simply so that it doesn't bog you down and you don't have to fill in 64 fields and a lot of things. If you put each piece of content in a separate box in your cell in your in your Excel spreadsheet, then you can import it into your CRM as well. So just keep that in mind also. Make sure you're providing useful information. Thank you, Mary, for connecting. Here's a sample article on my voiceover. Here's an example of my voiceover tips that I love to share with people. And then my next thing is, here's an example of my work. And I'm always looking for inspiration. Let me know if you've got any suggestions. And then your third one would be something or another else. But space them apart and then sort of build that lead into from cold to warm to hot. And don't forget, you can endorse people for their skills and or write recommendations. So few people write recommendations for other people. And I think it's a really good way, because then when you do write a recommendation for someone, every time someone looks at their LinkedIn profile, they see your name. So it can be a really good strategic move, particularly if that person's very high profile. And then I've also got some other hyper-local marketing techniques you can use with that sort of follow-up process. So you don't just get one sale, you do the other. And this is the QR code you've got on your phone. So if you press in the search box and the dots on the right, you can use that little QR code to connect with people one-on-one when you meet face-to-face, and it allows you to have their profile come up on your phone. Now, the next thing is to engage with your audience. So I say this all the time, social media is a megalomaniac, wants more people more often for longer. And if you support the platform will support you. So what you can see on your linkedin.com dashboard now is they're actually keeping a record, a visible record of what you've been doing that you can check out. So they're recommending once a week you do 3 things. So you write a post, you add a comment, or you contribute to a collaborative article. So I have done 21 in the last from October 7 to 13. So I put that on there today. And so you can see I'm, doing quite well because I've added more comments than I've added posts. So we want to make sure our comments are more than our posts. And also, because that means we're listening more often than we're speaking. And also with the basic jobs and careers premium account that I have, I can set up an away message. So anytime somebody messages me back, they get this little message here, and that's free publicity for the services I offer as well. So I love that little away message. I think that's very, very helpful. And here's some other tips on how to increase your engagement. The next thing is to create consistent content. Now, if you're not comfortable creating content, you can curate content. So you can find other stuff that's really relevant for your audience that you say, this is a fantastic piece, I'd love to share it with you all, with your comments. So you don't have to write, but of course with things like ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot and Google Gemini, we can put in a little prompt into AI and we can get a little start on, can you please write me 300 words on my topic of X? And then you can change it around and add your own flavor, and voila, you have some content you can share. Now you can share as a post and that goes in the news feed. It's dynamic. It lasts for probably maximum of 7 days unless it goes absolutely nuts and viral. An article I love because they're lifetime value and comparing Google search results. Newsletters are like articles on steroids because when you put the article out, it notifies people. And groups, provided they're well moderated and it's not just consultants pitching services. And then events. And I do a monthly event, but I do focus on free events on LinkedIn because most people, even if you give them a link to register and pay, they don't do it. So just stick to the free events. It's just a whole lot easier. And as you can see here, Brendan Wong from the content team at LinkedIn here in Australia has put out a call, and this was last month's snippet for video, and he is going hell for leather on encouraging us to put video content out. So I can assure you that video content is definitely favoured by LinkedIn at the moment, but polls where you have to vote, they're still working as well. And there's some other articles there also for you. So we'll have to keep moving. Special features. Now, like every social media platform, if it doesn't put out nice shiny objects on a regular basis, people get bored. And when those shiny objects come out, again, pitch to Linaire, she sees them before I do, and I quite often hear about them from her, is that they will be preferred by the platform when they first arrive, and then they lose their shininess. But as a business owner, we can be so distracted by those shiny objects that we forget to stick to our basic principles. So please do not be seduced by shiny objects. I go to a lot of events. I went to an event on Saturday and this woman said, TikTok, 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 and it was like, please give it up. And I go on TikTok and it is a crazy mess. And sure, you can go viral, but does that mean sales? Like, we're trying to get leads here. So we've got to remain focused on what is going to help us get leads. So use these things as you wish. Connect with LinkedIn News in Australia if you are in Australia. If you're not, connect with the local LinkedIn news team and they will give you tips as well. I can see a couple of questions coming in. I will get to them. I'll finish the slides so anybody who has to leave at 12:30 can go. Okay, so special features. And the next thing is events. As I said before, focus on free events, put them up at least 4 weeks beforehand so that you can invite 1,000 people per week to the event. Don't forget, if you've got staff, they can invite 1,000 connections of theirs per week to the event as well. So if you've got 10 staff and everybody invites 1,000 people a week, that's 10,000 people you could be inviting to your event. So that could be pretty special. And I do not provide the link to Zoom in my event because after the event has run, there's nothing I can edit on that old event. So I provide a link to my blog post, and the blog post on my website has the Zoom link so that people can still access the Zoom link if they click on it. But after the event, they can see all the details of the event. They can see the slides, they can see the recording, everything is there. So it means I've got to be well organized and have content on my website before the event that I update obviously after the event has run. I also put them on the company page, my Sue Ellson company page, not my Sue Ellson personal profile, because then if someone visits my company page, it showcases all those events and all my past events as well. That looks pretty sexy because you can see here I've got 45 past events. So again, it looks like I've been around for longer than 5 minutes. Now, as I said before, newsletters are amazing because if you have one, every time somebody follows you or connects, they will be invited to subscribe. And unlike an email newsletter subscription where it interferes with your daily activities every time an email comes in, it's just a notification on LinkedIn. And the best part is it's just a reminder, Sue exists, Sue exists, Sue exists. I actually don't care if they don't read it. I'm not worried. I just want them to remember that I'm here, and that's attraction marketing. And you can also search engine optimize the content. There's settings in there that you can do it. And again, systemize as much as you can. Put things on your website first, but you can still send out your email newsletter and my monthly email newsletter that you go out through your email provider. You can still put that out on LinkedIn as well. So they are the 10 tips. Have you picked 3 things you are going to do as a result of this webinar? I'd love to see those in the chat. And if you can do them within 3 hours, you will really gain maximum value. Apparently, if you don't do anything within 72 hours, which is 3 days, you'll do nothing. So you'll say, oh, that was lovely that Sue gave me all that information, but I didn't do anything from it. So I do encourage you to do 3 things in 3 hours. Here's a list of all the previous webinars in this series, and you can see all of the slides and all of the recordings without logging in, without cost, on that link there. Don't forget, I've got the online course. Everybody will be getting those slides. You can see me in person on Saturday if you wish. Follow me on the socials. Lots more resources on my website. I've just been on a podcast very recently with John Downs, which went really well. And today's slides are already there, although I will update that link. So thank you for that notification. And if you would like to write a review, I really appreciate those, as well as any other thank yous. So let me go back to the questions. How frequent should your newsletters be? I say monthly, Philip, because yeah, although the problem is once you create a newsletter, every time you try and create an article from then on, it automatically sends it out as a newsletter, which is really annoying, which I accidentally did yesterday. I forgot to change it back to an article. So just be aware of that. Once you've set up the newsletter, every article they want to send out as a newsletter. So you've just got to remember that. How long? Words or unique articles in the newsletter? Look, all of our attention span has shrunk. My general recommendation is 300 words. But as you will have seen with my newsletter, I just link to everything I did for the month. So anybody who missed the stuff that I did during the month, they can see it in my newsletter. Although I do take some things out that are not really that helpful. So yeah, I curate it from that perspective, but I just basically republish what I've shared throughout the month at the end of the month. Ashley, from your experience, do you find a favourite best day or time of the week to post new job vacancies in order to get the best traction on LinkedIn? Okay, so this is going to depend on who you're trying to reach. So if it was a musician and you put it out at 7 a.m., probably unlikely they'll be looking on LinkedIn at 7 a.m. if they're a well-paid musician, because we all know they're out late and they sleep in. So it's going to depend on your audience, but I believe the best thing to do if you're hunting for candidates is to put the job ad online, and I want you to include the salary and all the fabulous benefits that your organisation offers, and all the skills that you would ideally like, and any things that would be valuable if you also had them. So really separate the essentials out, because if you put too many things as essential, a lot of people won't apply. So you want only the essentials to be notified, and then the extras can be included. And then what I do is I go looking for people who could refer someone. And I find George, and George is in a similar industry with a similar range of experience. So I message George, hi George, let me know if you know anybody who'd be interested in this role, and click a link to the job ad. And I have found superb quality candidates by looking for referrals, but I do still put the job ad on LinkedIn. So I would say, don't just say, I'll pick the best time, I'll throw money at LinkedIn and it will happen. That's not going to happen. With recruitment, I found you're much better off targeting people and getting them to share it. So we've got several thank yous. Philip's going to set up the QR code. It's already there, Philip. But if you want to add the QR code to your presentations, then people could scan that and connect with you. And yep, thank people for contacting, viewing my profile. Yes, they will think, oh, Philip's on point here. And follow all connections. Oh, that's an interesting one. Well, yeah, I would strategically follow people who add value to you, and then choose all posts so that you curate your newsfeed. I wouldn't just automatically follow all of them. But what I would suggest you do is all your followers of your company page, make sure you're connected to all of them, because they've chosen to follow your company page. So you'd obviously want to connect with them. Oh, you've got number 4. Review some others and ask for reviews. Yes, so a minimum of 6 recommendations, both given and received, is what I'd say. Alex, amazing value as always. Thanks to, I'll be setting up a lead gen goal. Excellent. And setting up an away message. Fantastic. Already connect with everyone I meet and have the QR saved on my phone. Don't forget, you can use that QR code from the search box and the little dots on the right. So you don't have to go back to photos. You can do everything within LinkedIn. And then when that person's profile appears on your screen, I do not recommend you hit the blue button. I recommend you hit the 3 dots and you choose personalize invite. Nice to meet you at the council event or wherever you met them. And that way they remember how they came across. Susan, fantastic session. I will be setting up goals during my admin time tomorrow afternoon. Oh, it's time limited. Isn't that great? Thank you. Ashley, thanks. Appreciate it. Michelle, that's helpful. Excellent. All right. So let me take off. Oh, now when I stop sharing my screen, you will appear on the recording. So if you don't want your face to be on the recording, please turn the camera off now. And then I will open up for general questions from the crowd. So you can raise your hand, you can unmute, you can add a comment. I would like to say hello to Linaire. I mentioned you several times in a presentation. You probably weren't expecting that. And Philip. Philip is a regular attendee at my events. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks
and
for having me,
Susan, can you come on? Yes, Linaire.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. You've great ideas. Can I just mention a couple of things that you said that I thought are really, really useful? And I'm going to add them to my posts. When I do a post, I always put a tip of the day at the bottom of it and credit the person where I got the idea from, right? And so I picked up a couple of great things from you today. I did like your from now on, your 3 words. I thought that was fantastic. But using your away message as a promo, and I've received one of those from you today. So that was a really good tip. And also the one that you mentioned about the newsletter and the article. I have fallen into that trap as well, setting up an individual article and it going out as a newsletter because I wasn't paying attention. So I'll definitely be using that one, because you certainly don't want to be doing getting out of kilter with your newsletter. So I really appreciated both of those, and some really good other advice. You have a huge body of work. I am in awe.
Well, likewise, I'm in awe of you, Linaire, and I was really excited because there's a guy called John Esperan in the UK, which you've probably bumped into being another LinkedIn specialist. And what he's been doing is surveying people to look for LinkedIn specialists using the chat facility in their location. So who is a top LinkedIn specialist, blah, blah, blah. And so he's found people who've done that query in their chat service on their device in the US, in the UK, whatever. And believe it or not, I was number 1 on a list in the UK. So isn't that exciting? So what this means is because you said I've got a huge body of work, I have. I publish everything, and everything I link on my website, and I link to it if it's on somebody else's website, or I add more content to my website. So that's why I'm in chat results, because I haven't just published content on social media, I've been publishing it on websites, and the artificial intelligence scans the internet for our content. It doesn't scan stupid TikTok for our content. So, sorry, I don't mean to say TikTok is stupid, but from a business perspective, we've got to stay focused on what we're trying to achieve. And sure, I put my videos on TikTok, but I'm not expecting a business result from that. I'm just doing that so that if anybody who is on TikTok who wants to see me on their favorite platform will see me there. So that's my reason for duplicating my content in those locations. And I also produce my content separate of the platform so that I can republish it as my own content on each of the platforms. So you might notice if you put something on TikTok, you can automatically share it to Instagram, but it has the TikTok watermark on it, and I don't like that. I want all my content to appear as original content on each of the platforms. So yeah, great tips. Any that you would add for lead gen?
Well, you've covered so much and in such great detail that it's quite hard to come up with anything that's specific. But I would like to mention, and you've already really alluded to it, and that is to repurpose your content in other formats, right? So not everybody likes to watch videos now that we've got this new video feed. It's all over the news. I absolutely get that, and like you, I'm all over it. But I do think that not everybody wants to look at videos, particularly not look at videos of me, for heaven's sake, but they might want to see that content reproduced in a different way. And so you might, for instance, turn it into an article or a document. And I've been doing the odd infographic with summaries from my events, and that works really well. I get some really good views on that. But I do think that my point there was about using different formats for repurposing. But the second point I'd like to make, I think, is that we do get a bit hung up with impressions or organic reach. So, and I know that you'll think the same as me, that it's not about that. It's not about how many thousands of people have allegedly seen your content, because I don't think that happens, but it's about who engages on it. And you made a very good point. I can see Philip nodding there too. And you made a very good point about the fact that you want to connect to those people who have engaged. So my recommendation is that you use engagement rate as your metric of choice to see how you're doing. And if your engagement rate is going up over time and you're getting some really good people engaging on your content that you can connect with, and they're in your target audience, then that would be success for me on LinkedIn. So
yeah, and I have another measure, which is the phone still ringing or the email still coming in? Like, are you actually making sales? And I love your comment about the infographic, because if I see a video that goes for 57 seconds, I don't want to spend 57 seconds watching a video. An infographic I can look at, but what it also means is if I stop scrolling to interpret that infographic, the algorithm will determine that as quality content and it will go to more people. So anything that makes your content scroll stopping, or if we get to know that you've always got a tip of the day in there and we say, right, I'm going to check Linnaire's post because they've always got a tip, then yeah, they're really good things to make scroll stopping.
and you can get them on Canva. So that's where I get mine from. Just a
Oh,
heads
good.
up, I don't create them myself. They don't cost me any money apart from my Canvas subscription, and there's a good variety of them there too. So that's
Yeah,
my tip for getting good infographics.
good. Perfect. Well done. Any other questions, comments? Philip, can you make a comment from the market research perspective on lead gen? Oh, and then I'll come to Alex next.
So it's probably a matter of keeping in touch with existing or previous clients. New clients are perhaps not as quick to come in from LinkedIn. It's more a meeting and talking and then
Yes.
understanding what their needs are. And they're perhaps not prepared to share that so frequently on LinkedIn. I've only had a couple of people who've actually said, I want this on LinkedIn. Mostly it's when you've met them and they've come to trust you, at least can make a sensible proposal, and then it works. But it's keeping in touch with the others, because then they go, oh, yeah, I could do that.
Yes.
And as you say, informing them of things they could do generically rather than individually necessarily, and haven't thought of that. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's how.
no, good point. And yes, I'm all about relationships. And I've worked with a number of older business professionals, and they say, oh, I don't know what to do. I've got, I said, hang on a minute, you've been in business for 30 years, you're doing something right. Social media is just an adjunct to that. Whereas a lot of newer business owners assume that everything should be done online when it's not. It's about relationships. And so, yes, and that's why you'll see me turning up in person all the time, because I want people to meet me and know that I'm real. It's not just something online. And yeah, that's where most of my work comes from, is I've met them, and then at some later point, they just automatically come back to me. So the lead gen sort of is a cycle that automatically occurs. So yeah, good point. Thank you. Now, Alex, would you like to unmute and share your question?
Oh, hello. Yes, I popped it in the chat just before.
Oh, yep.
It was just about, you said don't connect and pitch straight away.
Yep.
But then you in your reply email or message, you were sort of sharing a bit of information about your products and services and the cost. So what constitutes a pitch, and yeah, is that a fine
Yeah.
line, or
It
can you
is.
just
So, for instance, if I don't know what product or service do you offer, Alex?
human resources services, and
Right.
we've got online training modules, compliance modules.
Right. Okay. So
Yes.
if you connect with me and say, "Hi, Sue, I'd like to explain HR la 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 to me," it would be a complete waste of my time because I've got no staff.
Mm,
And so if you connected and then tried to sell that service to me, that would be a connect and pitch because it's completely irrelevant to me.
hmm
And but if you said, "Oh, Sue, I noticed you've been involved in the Australian Human Resources Institute for many years and you're in the RE Hall of Fame," it's all on my LinkedIn profile, right?
mm,
If you know anybody who'd be interested in our services, then I might be more interested because I'd know then that you'd at least looked at my LinkedIn profile and read the information. But what
mm,
happens with a lot of these connect and pitches is it's just some random message for another website design, or an evaluation of
yes.
my YouTube channel or something, 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 where they've
hmm
clearly got some script that somebody has recommended to them and they haven't looked at my profile. And like last night, I got somebody who's a career advisor say, "Oh, how are you going with your career?" And I'm thinking, can't you tell I help people with their careers? Like, what the? And this person was previously in a very large, well-known organization that probably he thinks like this, like clearly, because
hmm
and that's just a waste of my time and irritating. And so the
Yes.
first thing I want to do is remove that connection because I don't want that information. So that's
Mm,
why it's really important. But another story which I've shared many times before. One of my clients provided risk management software for councils, and they'd already done work for some councils. So what they did without my prior approval is they found all these council workers in charge of that decision-making process in councils all over Australia. In fact, they connected to so many people that LinkedIn said, "Slow down, you're connecting to too many people." And this was before we got warnings. It was kind of like you're about to be banned kind of thing. So he slowed down, and I said, okay, when you connect with these people, please change the message and, do this. Okay, so we did that. So then he had, let's say, critical mass of people in councils all over Australia. So he sent me the message that he was going to send to those people before he sent it. Thank goodness, because if a council employee had read that message, they would have said, that's a pitch, get out of here, and disconnected. So I rewrote it, explaining how he had implemented his risk management software in these councils. These were the results. Would you be interested in a no obligation? Da, 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 da. I can't remember the wording, but you get the idea. Now, he sent that individual message to all those individual council employees, and he got a 40% conversion rate. So that's not a connect and pitch. It was connect, wait till you got to critical mass, sometime later, reach out specifically to a specific person with a specific solution in a message that was clear and concise, and that's when you're more likely to get that. So you need to be really, really clear about who these messages are going to, and they have to be tailored for that person.
Thank you. Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. But thank you for picking me up, because, you could just assume 1 minute she said this, the next minute she said that, which is right. So fantastic. How often do you do these Zoom calls on Eventbrite? James, I do them every month, and I've already scheduled the ones for next year. And so this is number 37, and the next one's going to be number 38. So there's one a month. And then I do this short form content on a Tuesday will be a video, and then I do random articles and other bits and bobs throughout the month as well, and they go in my newsletter. So I am an educator at heart. So everything I do shares information. So it's not a sales pitch. And because I'm a learning junkie, I go to lots of things, and I try and make sure that if I was sitting in the chair where you are, you would get some value out of it. So I try and make sure everything I say adds some form of value. So thank you for that. Any other final questions? And feel free to contact me directly if you've got a question you don't feel comfortable asking in front of the rest of the group. Yes, Lynette. Yep, if you'd like to unmute and go for it. I can see you've got your hand up. Was that a wave goodbye or ask a question? Because I can't hear you, Lynette. Feel free to type your question in the chat if you prefer. Or it could just be a wave goodbye. Oh, might assume it's that. Okay. Well done. Thank you. As I said, 80% of success is turning up. I trust you can implement something within 3 hours or 3 days. And I look forward to seeing you online. If we're not connected, please do reach out and connect with me, because I know some people on Eventbrite, I only see your email, and LinkedIn removed the ability to invite people to connect via email, which I was really disappointed when that happened. So I go looking for some people via their email address, but I can't always find them. So if you're not connected, feel free to reach out. Don't just press the follow button, click more and choose connect, and then you can come through to me. So thank you, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all online. Bye for now.